One of the big headlines this week was the 7.1 million Obamacare enrollment number that was touted by the president. You remember that. But new data from a major insurer actually suggests, the number is more like 6 million. Here to explain is Vital Springs Technologies CEO, Dr. Sreedhar Potarazu. Dr. P, welcome back to the show. So what's going on here? What is the president counting that maybe he shouldn't be?
Well, there's going to be a big disconnect, Jerry, in terms of those that actually made it all the way through the process, actually picked a plan, and those that actually got a payment processed. And we're going to start digging under the covers in terms of the discrepancy between the 6 million and the 7.1 million. And the measurement that the White House is looking at is people that potentially either try or get their foot through the door. But the real number that matters is the people that go all the way through the system, that actually complete that transaction. And even more importantly, over the next few months, will be how these people have actually been able to access the doctors that they're trying to get to when they need to.
It is definitely a process. Blue Cross Blue Shield saying 15 to 20% of these folks have not paid their first premium. So that's how they get to the 6 million number. And let me tell you, even that may not be a good number, because how many of those folks already had insurance, right? How many people are we really insuring new for the first time? How many of those people actually fall in the demographic that we've been trying to insure, which is young people? There's so many questions about these numbers, and I feel like they're murky. I'm not sure that I trust them. Do you?
No, and here's the reason why. Take the example of a large employer that goes through an enrollment process, usually every September or October, and they look at the number of people that enroll within the plans that they're offering. And at the end of open enrollment, they get ecstatic about the number of people that have enrolled, but that's not the number that really matters. What matters is whether the right people enrolled in the right plans, because what happens is if you get people with really sick issues or that have chronic conditions and they end up choosing the wrong plan, what happens? They end up not getting access to the care that they need, and costs actually go up. So the amusing thing is the celebration over the 7.1 million number, which is good considering all of the problems that they've had. But for anybody that really understands the mechanics of health insurance, there's nothing to celebrate about here, because
I don't think so
we
either.
don't have the details that really matter.
We don't know. There are more questions than there are answers at this point. But there was a funny headline today, and I wonder if you saw it. So now we finally have an end date for enrollment. And guess what? It's tax day, April 15th. Now, how appropriate is that this program, the costs of which have only been escalating ever since they announced it, that tax day is the day you have to enroll? I think it's hysterical.
Well, I think it's hysterical. I think it also raises the question of what people are going to report on when they're supposed to talk about whether they actually have coverage or not in their tax returns, and they couldn't access healthcare.gov. What are they supposed to respond to when they submit their tax returns on April 15th, and are they going to get penalized for that?
Well, I think they'll actually be reporting on in April 15th of next year for this year. So they're going to have a little time to make that filing, I think. But at the end of the day, none of the goals we had, reducing the cost of care, bending the cost curve, keeping your doctor, keeping your insurer, none of these things are actually coming to fruition. And now we hear that employers are saying that Obamacare will cost them an additional $5,000 more per employee. The cost going through the roof, some of it borne by the federal government, some not.
That's right. That's right. And that study that you just mentioned, I think, is a significant one. It was produced by Tevi Troy, who is a very respectable statesman and an individual who was in HHS during the Bush administration. And it's a really remarkable study where they interviewed over 100 major employers and asked them about the key problems that they're concerned about. And clearly, the issues that they're concerned about are the administrative costs in terms of implementing the Affordable Care Act, as well as some of the taxes that are going to be incurred for some of these companies that are still offering some better insurance plans for their employees in order to keep them. And if you look at the numbers that you just talked about in terms of the financial impact, despite all of the mechanics of the Affordable Care Act that are in place now, it's astounding. So the 7.1 million number is a very short-term victory, because if you look, as you mentioned, in terms of not knowing the risk of the population, the impact to employers, the impact to insurance companies who are in the dark, the real numbers about the success of this law are now going to unravel.
I think so, too. I couldn't agree with you more. Dr. P, thanks for being with us. Good to see you.